First, we start by importing a CSS module into our React component. The button module CSS represents the CSS file that contains styles specific to this component. Notice how the file name ends with module CSS. This is important because this convention is how Next.js recognizes the file as a CSS module. We're defining a functional component called button. This component will render a button element on the screen. In the return statement of the button component, we're using the styles object imported earlier to apply the error class to our button element. The syntax styles error corresponds to the class we defined in our CSS module, and using it like this ensures that the class name is locally scoped. We've finished defining the button component. Its styling is safely scoped, which prevents any unintended styles from being applied to other elements. Now let's look into the button module CSS file. We are starting with the style definition for the error class. The background color property sets the background color of our button to red. Next, we specify the text color using the color property, setting it to white to contrast against the red background. With border none, we remove any default border that might come with the button element. The padding property adds space inside our button, making it larger and easier to click. Using border radius, we give the button rounded corners for a more modern look. The font weight bold property makes our button's text bold for better visibility. The cursor property is set to pointer to change the mouse cursor to a hand icon when hovering over the button, indicating that it's clickable. Lastly, we add a small margin around the button for proper spacing within the UI. Here we end the basic style definition for our error button. We're not done yet. It's important to provide visual feedback to users. Let's do this by defining the hover pseudo class. Within the hover state, we decrease the button's opacity, providing a visual cue that the button is interactive when the user hovers over it. And with that, we complete the hover state. Our error button now has a distinct style and interactivity, all encapsulated within the component thanks to CSS modules in Next.js. This prevents any global style conflicts and makes our components CSS easy to maintain and reuse.